Baltimore County, which is only about 30% Black, about 57% of drivers pulled over are Black drivers. And Black drivers are more likely to be ticketed and more likely to be searched than drivers of other races.
So can you explain the phrase driving while Black?
So for years now in Baltimore County, Black drivers have felt that there's a different experience for them on the road when it comes to dealing with police. So we did an investigation to kind of test those claims. And what we found is in Baltimore County, which is only about 30% Black drivers were not only more likely to be stopped, but also Black drivers' stops were less likely to end in warnings and more likely to end in citations than stops of white drivers. You know, we identified a few of the officers that we wrote about in this story from complaints made by citizens. And so one of our tasks on this story was to dive into each of their individual records. So we used data from the Maryland judiciary to look at their ticketing records individually. And we found some pretty troubling disparities in terms of who these officers were ticketing. Some of them were writing 70, 80. The highest that we saw was about 89% of traffic tickets they were writing to Black drivers.
And according to the people you talked with, what could be some of the reasons behind this?
Many of them said that this was an indication of systemic bias. But one of the things that was difficult for us on this project is that it's hard, even with great data, to say definitively whether or not racial bias exists at a police department level. You know, there's no data source that can tell us exactly what's in someone's heart, but the indication here from our analysis was that Black drivers certainly face worse outcomes and are more likely to be pulled over by the police relative to white drivers.
And what do you hope is a takeaway from this article?
I think we need to do a better job at setting benchmarks for what constitutes success in terms of combating racial bias in policing. You know, it's easy to say we've gotten better, we've instituted some trainings, and it's another to decide what metrics constitute tangible progress. And that's something that police departments, not just in Baltimore County, but around the country, have been hesitant to do.